We start with the ones that have more storylines, and the first game had a lot of storylines within the game, but also the biggest storyline now as we enter this next week. Tennessee gets the victory over Indianapolis. It was 34-31, overtime game, back and forth. A lot to talk about, but we do start with the breaking news here. Derrick Henry potentially out for the season with a Jones fracture that would require surgery. Now, we don't know exactly. I mean, by the time you're listening to this, you might know more than we do right now.
Yeah.
I think it's safe to assume, and I think we'll do for the purposes of this discussion, that he's going to be out a long time, perhaps the whole season.
I would think so. Yeah, I would. Yeah, I mean, again, I got to refresh my memory on the Jones fracture.
Yeah.
You know, I know Liz Frank. I know Jones one. I need somebody to refresh me on it exactly. But either way, I mean, when you're playing running back, of course, feet are pretty important. And you know, it's a lot of pressure on that part of your foot to think that, like, oh, yeah, he'll be back for a playoff run 2 months from now, basically. We're talking about 2 months. The playoffs are starting in a little over 2 months.
Yeah.
I'd have a hard time thinking. Maybe he does get back for it, but I just can't imagine him ever being like the same guy. But yeah, I would think that's season-ending type of injury and a huge blow to the Titans.
The strange thing is that early in the game when it was 14-0 Indianapolis, they showed him on the sideline.
Right.
He was kind of limping around.
Right.
But he played the rest of the game, and what did he end up with? 28 carries? And so it was a little strange because it was like, all right, whatever it was, apparently it's not that big of a deal.
Well, this is the thing in the NFL, and I think this is what leads to a lot more severity in injuries a lot of times. And I know I've had this conversation. I don't know if I've had it with you, but that to me is, you know, when I see stuff like that, I always go, well, there's the Toradol effect, right? Almost everybody in football gets Toradol the night before the game or the morning before the game. So you get injuries like that, and you're like, my foot feels funny, but you're numb. Your nervous system is numb. It's Toradol. It shuts all feeling off. Right? So they're like, oh, it feels a little funny, but I think I could play. I think I can go. And then what happens is, as it slowly starts to wear off throughout the day, whether it's last night or you wake up the next morning, that's when I can't tell you how many teammates I had or people I played with who we go game over, let's go get some food and have a drink, and they're going, oh, my shoulder's a little sore, but I'll be all right. And then they wake up the next morning and they're like, oh, my shoulder's really fucked up, I can't do anything. Like, what the happened? And it's just because of it's that aspect to me. It's something that we talk about a lot as players, but that would be my take on that. Sorry to ramble there a little.
A Jones fracture refers to a break between the base and the shaft of the fifth metatarsal bone of the foot. So it's on the outside of the foot.
Outside foot, like not a good spot.
No.
A lot of pressure going to be put there. You have to, of course, cut and do everything else. And, of course, he's a power runner who runs through the scrum and has people hanging on him a lot, too. So, big guy with that injury, his position, what they ask him to do, I'd have a hard time thinking he's coming back. And, listen, this is a game changer. Yeah. It's a game changer in the AFC. The Titans are like one of the few teams we're getting down to here just before we get into the game a little bit where I go, like, they're one of the few teams in the AFC I don't have a ton of questions about. They're kind of going and they're trending in the right direction in all areas. You're kind of going, man, their defense is kind of getting it. You know, they make plays. They're not giving up too many plays. Of course, the offense, they have really seemed to have found their way since that Jets loss a few weeks ago. And they were one of the teams I was looking at to go, man, Tennessee might be kind of rounded into Super Bowl form here. But, of course, now I don't think that. If he's gone, that changes the outlook of their team completely.
So before we talk about potential replacements for him, there's going to be talk that this was inevitable because of his usage and how much they were using him. He had 219 carries this season. That would have ranked 9th in the NFL all of last season. We're talking midway through the year, not even to that
He's
point.
on pace for all-time carries, right?
Yep. NFL record for carries in a season, 416 by Larry Johnson. He had that in 2006. Henry was on pace for 465. Of course, he got the extra game, but even without that, he would have gotten 438.
Right.
So was this overuse?
Well, I'm not going to say it's over. Listen, this guy's the ultimate bell cow, and I don't think he shows signs of being overused. I think that's the problem with him a little bit. And, you know, I know we've discussed a little bit before, even though he's a power runner between the tackles, he's got a unique way of not being too much of a car crash runner. You know, whether it's just kind of, you know, sneaking through the line and, people hit him and tackle him, but it's not like, oh, shoulders down, I'm full speed, I'm going to lower my head right in the hole with linebackers. That's not what he does a lot. So I think he does a good job of kind of limiting the abuse his body takes, even though he takes a lot of carries. But No, this is the risk of when you start to do that many times. Of course, yeah, and especially with them and running between the tackles so much as they do, people falling on your feet. You're in the scrum a lot, and it just increases the chances of something like this happening. I don't think it's inevitable. I don't want to say that.
Yeah,
I'm not going to sit here and look at it and go, well, if they just gave it to him 8 less carries a game, he wouldn't have had this.
Sure.
No, I don't. I think this is just unfortunate. When you carry the ball this many times, you're going to have some bad shit happen to you.
Pete notes here that he has not had a serious injury since breaking his foot in April before his freshman year at Alabama.
Wow.
So it's been a long time for Derrick.
Show.
The only thing about the overuse that I'll say is that it seems like in the past few years, which has worked really well for them, is they have relied more heavily on him as the season has gone on. It's like he's really gotten into gear when the weather's gotten colder, December, then into the playoffs. And so if they were planning on doing that again, you might want to put him on a little bit more of a pitch count early in the year.
Right.
You know, he just might not have been the same Derrick Henry after all these carries. Like, not even like getting injured. It's like he just might be worn down if you want to try to do that again.
That's a fair point. I'm not going to argue that. There's no doubt.
So here's the question: Is he the most irreplaceable non-quarterback in the NFL? Like, if you're the Tennessee Titans, are you now having to replace a guy who is the most irreplaceable?
Yeah. Okay. So that's a great question. I think
non-quarterback.
Non-quarterback. Right. I got you all the way here. I mean, I think right off the bat, I think of course, Aaron Donald. I look at T.J. Watt and Myles Garrett to be in this conversation. Derrick Henry certainly in the conversation. We know that. Let's see. Anybody else in the?
You know, it's funny. We were talking. We were talking with our guys from.
Pete says Tyreek Hill. He is very important to what they do. There's no doubt about that. But I think you could. I think I would probably say him and Aaron Donald. I would say yes. Mm-hmm. Those two guys get hurt. It changes their team. The Rams have the luxury of a guy that they can just do so many different things with. He's such a mismatch that it changes the outlook for their whole defense. It's the same for Derrick Henry. Again, just think about what you see from Tennessee every week. Think about what you saw yesterday. It's run the ball. Oh, they stopped the run. Who are they going to throw the ball to?
Yeah, A.J. Brown.
Yeah, right. And what are they going to do off of that? It's going to be play action pass, totally. Right? All right. I mean, that's how they play. So when you look at it, he just dictates the style of their football team.
Yep.
So that's where, I'd probably say he is the most irreplaceable player in football. Like I said, him and Donald are the top two on the list.
Yeah, you do wonder how moving forward it affects Ryan Tannehill now, how it affects A.J. Brown moving forward.
Yeah. I have not seen great passing offense from Tennessee this year.
Yeah.
Not like stand alone. You know, the last few years, not that I was blown away by what they did with Arthur Smith in the drop back pass game, but it was good enough to where I went, if they can't run the ball, their drop back pass game is good enough. You know, under Todd Downing, I can't lie, I'll say I've wanted more. But they've gotten away with it because their defense has been better. They've run the ball, of course. They stay patient with it, which is the best thing they do. And then that allows the play action pass to happen. But, now this is going to put the spotlight in some other areas. And, they're so A.J. Brown and Derrick Henry centric. Yeah. That's where you go, okay, now, all right, Julio, hopefully he gets healthy here soon. But who are going to be some of the other guys on this offense that really help them out?
Yeah, those are the two guys since 2019 when A.J. Brown got into the league. A.J. Brown now has 7 career 50-plus yard touchdowns. The only player with more is Derrick Henry with 8 in that time that A.J. Brown has been in the league. So those
A.J. Brown's built like a running back.
Guys, and without one, it might affect the other one for sure. Yeah. Now, it's interesting when we talk to our friends at PointsBet Sportsbook, the official sportsbook of NBC Sports, about what players move lines. They were talking about, this was a couple weeks ago, Delvin Cook.
Sure.
And when he's out of the game for Minnesota, how much does the line move?
Right.
And they said not at all because Alexander Madison's a good replacement. They don't really lose a whole bunch, and maybe they don't lose anything at all because they said they don't change the line of that game at all if Dalvin Cook is out. I think it's a little different now with Tennessee because
100%.
Jeremy McNichols, the only other running back on the active roster. News coming out that Adrian Peterson is going to go to Nashville, have a workout there. So replacing Derrick Henry, what about those two names? What pops into your head?
Well, I mean, McNichols is solid. He's
pass catcher.
Got a little thickness to him, to where you can run the ball with him a little bit. But I mean, certainly not the guy where I'd look at and go, oh, to your point what you just said with Minnesota, where I'd go, well, they'll be okay. They got a good backup, and it might not be as good, but it's just going to be slightly less. No, it's going to be less, significantly less. Adrian Peterson, sure, I love that. He's going to run hard. He fits the mantra of what they want to do. Hey, just get the ball, stretch it out to the left, find a hole, and try to squeak through there and, smash it in there. Yes, but, I mean, again, what people don't realize and what's so scary about Derrick Henry, it's two things, in my opinion. One, he is so big and strong that he gets the ball, there's nothing there. I mean, there's nothing there, and he still gets 3 or 4 yards a lot of the time. So you still go, damn, that was a bad play, and it's still 2nd and 6. Look at these fucking guys. Gosh, it's 2nd and 6. We played the play perfect. Or we should have had him tackled for a 2-yard loss, and he still got 1 yard, and it's 2nd and 9. That, to me, of course, is where he's great. But the other is just the fear of God he puts into defenses, because they just know, like, we can't have one play off, or I can't go one play where I'm just going to roll the dice and not think about Derrick Henry in the run game, because he can score in one play. It's very rare that he has a combination like that. Like the combination of great power back of all time and yet great, like, what do I want to say, game changer or, explosive play running back of all time. That to me is where he's special and why he's like a first ballot Hall of Famer as compared to other running backs, because it's like he's got Emmitt Smith, bell cow usage, but like Adrian Peterson in his prime, big play, I can go 70 yards in any minute usage. And that, to me, is where he's really special and irreplaceable that way.
It's going to be up to the rest of the team to step up. I mean, like all around the board, right? Defensively,
need Julio back.
Julio's got to come back. Yep. Give him another playmaker there, because they're still in the mix here. They're
definitely in the mix.
I mean, even without Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
They're still a playoff team potentially.
Find ways. First thing that came to my head this morning when I saw the news is just like, well, they need to find ways to even put like A.J. Brown into like the Deebo Samuel, formula a little bit. But play him a tailback a little bit. Give him a carry or two. Like do what Cordero Patterson does for the Atlanta Falcons, a similar role. They're going to have to make it up that way. And then, I don't know. We do have the trade deadline tomorrow. They're got to be looking at themselves right now and going, wait, we're a Super Bowl team. We've beaten the Bills and the Chiefs, and I know the Chiefs aren't what they used to be, but they got to look at themselves as a Super Bowl team, to where I would think, maybe one of these teams that's a seller here going into tomorrow, ready to get rid of a few guys here and there, that they look to make a move for some sort of running back around the NFL.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.